Welcome. You didn't land here by accident. If you're listening to this right now, it means you're ready. Ready to break free from the thoughts, beliefs, and habits that have silently shaped your relationship with money for years, maybe even decades, and that takes courage. So before we begin, let me say this: I see you. I respect the strength it took to press play, and I'm here to walk this journey with you, step by step, word by word. This book isn't just about making more money. It's about understanding how you think about money, because real wealth doesn't begin in your bank account. It begins in your mind. We all have a money story. Some of us grew up hearing, "We can't afford that." Others saw money used as a weapon to control, manipulate, or divide. And some of us were taught to chase it endlessly, hoping it would finally bring peace, status, or worth. But here's the truth. Until we pause and explore the mindset behind the money, we're just repeating the same cycles: earning, spending, saving, struggling, but never feeling truly free. So what exactly is a money mindset? It's not some motivational buzzword. It's the invisible script that shapes every financial decision you make. It's what makes you feel guilty when you buy something for yourself, or fearful when you look at your bank balance, or ashamed when someone talks about investing. Your money mindset is the internal belief system that says, "This is what I deserve. This is how money works. This is what's possible for someone like me." And unless you rewrite that script, no amount of budgeting apps, side hustles, or career moves will create lasting change. This book isn't here to shame you. It's not here to make you feel like you failed. It's here to show you that you can change, not just what you do with money, but how you feel about it, how you think, how you react, how you show up. Because when your mindset changes, your entire financial future changes with it. We're going to explore the deep roots of your money story. We're going to face the limiting beliefs that quietly sabotage your growth. And most importantly, we're going to rebuild with clarity, intention, and power. You're going to learn how to recognize emotional patterns, challenge inherited scripts, and finally start aligning your habits with the future you actually want. This isn't about chasing money. This is about becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts it, not through hustle or hype, but through a grounded, empowered, and rewired mindset. You deserve to feel confident when you talk about money. You deserve to build wealth in a way that aligns with who you truly are. And you deserve a future that isn't limited by old fears, generational wounds, or silent shame. So as we begin, I invite you to open your mind, breathe, and give yourself permission to listen deeply, not just to my voice, but to your own inner truth. Because this isn't just an audiobook. This is the beginning of your financial transformation. Welcome to Money Mind Control. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Understanding your money mindset. Let's slow things down for a moment, not just in your day, but in your mind. Because before we talk about numbers, budgets, income streams, or investing, we need to talk about the one thing that silently controls all of it: your money mindset. I know it doesn't sound flashy, but I'll tell you right now, this is where real change begins. Not with hustle, not with tips and tricks, but with what you believe and what you carry silently inside. Most people spend their entire lives focused on what they can do to make more money. But almost no one stops to ask, what do I actually believe about money? Because the truth is, what you believe shapes what you see, and what you see shapes what you do, and what you do determines what you get. It always starts with belief. It always starts with the story in your mind. So let's define it simply. Your money mindset is the collection of beliefs, assumptions, attitudes, and emotional patterns you've absorbed, consciously or not, about money. It includes what you think money means, what you think you deserve, what you fear will happen if you have too much or too little, and how money makes you feel: safe, powerful, anxious, ashamed. Here's the part most people miss. You don't decide your money mindset. You inherit it, piece by piece, layer by layer, message by message, from childhood, school, culture, religion, trauma, and survival. You don't even know you're carrying it until one day you realize you've been stuck in the same loop for years. So many smart, capable people find themselves in that loop. They get a job, pay their bills, maybe even save a little. But inside they feel trapped, or disconnected, or constantly anxious about the future. And when they try to change it, when they try to earn more, save more, or invest, something pulls them back. Self-doubt, procrastination, fear, shame. Like an invisible rope around their progress. That rope is mindset. And until you untangle it, no strategy will fully work. You might see short-term results, but the core stays stuck. And eventually, you fall back. But the good news? Once you can see the mindset that's been running your financial life, you can finally begin to change it. Not through force, not through guilt, but through deep awareness and honest reconstruction. This is what we're doing together now. This is the foundation. Let's start with something simple, but powerful. Ask yourself, what's the first memory you have about money? Not a lesson, a memory. Maybe it was seeing your parents argue about bills. Maybe it was getting told no at the store. Maybe it was watching someone close to you lose everything, or suddenly gain it all. Whatever it is, that moment planted something. A seed of belief, a script. And here's what happens. That seed grows quietly into thoughts like, money is hard. I'm not good with finances. Rich people are selfish. I don't deserve to be wealthy. I'll always struggle. Over time, these thoughts don't feel like opinions. They feel like facts. You don't question them. You just live by them, and that becomes your financial truth until you rewrite it. Now here's where things get even more subtle. Even if you've never said those things out loud, your actions still reflect what you believe. For example, if you avoid checking your bank account, if you feel guilty when you spend on yourself, if you judge wealthy people without knowing them, if you feel uncomfortable when someone talks about investments, if you downplay your income or success around others, that's mindset at work. That's your internal financial blueprint playing out on autopilot. And here's something else I want you to hear. There is no shame in this. Every belief you carry had a reason. At some point, that belief protected you. Maybe you learned that money wasn't safe to talk about. Maybe you saw it tear your family apart. Maybe you needed to feel above money to feel worthy when you didn't have enough. That belief got you through something, but now it might be keeping you stuck. This chapter isn't about blame, it's about ownership. You didn't choose your original money mindset, but you can choose what happens next. Now let's talk about the two main categories of mindset that show up again and again. The scarcity mindset too, the abundance mindset. These aren't just buzzwords, they're lenses, and whichever lens you wear shapes the entire way you see your financial world. The scarcity mindset at its root, this mindset whispers, there's not enough money, not enough opportunity, not enough to go around. If you carry this mindset, you might find yourself constantly worrying about losing what you have, feeling guilty whenever you spend, resenting others who succeed, underselling yourself, procrastinating financial planning out of fear. You might even avoid learning about money because deep down you feel like it won't matter anyway, it's not your fault. Scarcity is a survival mindset. It forms when you've lived without enough: love, security, food, freedom. But if you let it run your life, it will keep you small. The abundance mindset. This one says, there's always more available, and I'm worthy of receiving it. An abundant thinker doesn't deny that life has challenges, but they believe that effort, growth, and generosity open doors. They believe they can learn, adapt, and expand. They don't panic over every dip, because they trust their ability to recover. They invest in not just money but belief. They seek knowledge, they practice gratitude, they give without fear. They think long-term. It's not naive. It's not magical thinking. It's resilient optimism, grounded in responsibility. Here's what I want you to know. You're not just one or the other. You might have scarcity in some areas and abundance in others. That's normal. But what matters now is which one you choose to strengthen, because mindset is a habit, and like any habit, it can be rewired. Let's pause here. Take a breath. Close your eyes if it helps. and ask yourself, what do I believe about money? And where did that belief come from? Not what you think you should believe, what you truly believe. This one question can unlock decades of quiet programming, and it's the beginning of financial freedom, not just in your wallet, but in your soul. In part 2, we're going to look deeper. We'll explore how your money story was shaped, the moments, messages, and patterns that built your beliefs. We'll talk about how financial trauma, early family dynamics, and unconscious messages about self-worth get embedded in your mindset. And most importantly, we'll begin the slow, gentle process of letting go. Let's continue when you're ready. In part 1, we uncovered the concept of your money mindset, the internal operating system that silently drives every decision you make about money. Now it's time to understand where that mindset actually came from. Because here's the truth. No one teaches you. Your money beliefs didn't start with you. They were passed down, absorbed, coded into your nervous system long before you had a choice. Your first teacher, childhood. Let's start here. You learned about money the same way you learned to speak, by watching, listening, and feeling. You absorbed it. Not from textbooks, not from financial advisors, but from experience. You watched your parents argue about bills, or save every coin obsessively, or spend recklessly to keep up appearances, or maybe act like money didn't even exist. Whatever the story, you watched, you felt, you learned. You didn't question whether it was right or wrong. You were just trying to make sense of the world, and in that process you wrote your own invisible rules about money. Some of those rules might have sounded like, we never have enough, money is stressful, I have to work extra hard just to survive. Rich people are bad. If I have too much, people will hate me. I'm not smart enough to be rich. You didn't write these sentences on paper. You wrote them in your subconscious. And over time, those rules became your reality. The power of money, script psychologists call these inherited beliefs money scripts. And most people live by them without even realizing it. There are 4 primary types. Money avoidance. If this is your script, you believe money is bad or shameful. You might say things like, I don't deserve to be rich. Good people shouldn't care about money. It's selfish to want more. People with this script often avoid looking at their accounts, delay paying bills, or feel guilty spending on themselves, and even when they have enough, money becomes something to fear, not to understand. Money worship. This one says, more money will fix everything. You believe that once you earn enough, all your problems will disappear. That money is the ultimate source of freedom, peace, even happiness. But here's the catch: you never feel like you have enough. Even when you earn more, the anxiety stays. You might chase status, overspend, or keep pushing without ever feeling fulfilled. Money becomes a moving finish line, always just out of reach. Money status. This one ties your self-worth to your net worth. You feel more valuable when you earn more. You buy to impress. You measure your success by what others can see. The danger here, your identity gets built around external symbols, not internal stability. So when money dips, your confidence crashes with it. Money vigilance. This script can look healthy on the surface. You save, you budget, you're cautious. But under the surface, you might be deeply anxious. I can't afford to make a mistake. I shouldn't enjoy my money. If I don't control every cent, something bad will happen. You may hoard, underspend, or miss opportunities out of fear. And even when you're financially secure, you feel tense, like the rug could be pulled out from under you at any moment. Most of us don't fall into just one category. You may recognize pieces of yourself in 2 or 3, or all 4. That's okay. Because these scripts didn't come from nowhere. They came from your environment, from moments, from pain, the hidden wounds, financial flashpoints we call them. Financial flashpoints, those emotionally intense experiences with money, often from early in life, that shaped how you see money now. It might have been the day your family lost everything, or the moment you realized your parents stayed together only because of money, or growing up watching someone control others with their wallet, or never hearing the word savings in your household. These moments get stored, not just in memory, but in emotion. They shape your nervous system. They form associations, and without realizing it, you begin to build your identity around them. And here's where it gets heavier, but also liberating. Sometimes the people who raised you had their own money wounds, passed down from their parents. And their parents. Before them, generational patterns, silent beliefs, financial trauma. Maybe your grandparents lived through war or poverty. Maybe your mother had to work 3 jobs just to keep the lights on. Maybe your father measured his worth in what he could provide and never felt like enough. Those stories didn't disappear. They became yours. But hear me closely here. Just because it was passed down doesn't mean you have to keep carrying. This is your moment to interrupt the pattern, to say, thank you for the lessons, I understand where they came from, but I'm choosing something new. You don't have to rewrite history. You just have to rewrite your relationship with it, the role of self-worth. Let's touch on something even deeper. There's a psychological concept called financial contingency of self-worth, or financial CSW. It means this: your sense of worth as a person becomes tied to how successful you are financially. In this state, every financial win boosts your ego, and every setback destroys it. People with high financial CSW often make constant financial comparisons, feel crushed by setbacks, feel like they are failing. Not just their bank account, it's exhausting and unsustainable, because money will always rise and fall. But your value, your essence, doesn't change with a balance sheet. If you want lasting peace, you have to untangle who you are from what you earn. The start of the shift. So, how do you change something that's been with you for so long? It starts not with doing, but with noticing. Here are a few questions to sit with. What money messages did I hear growing up? How did my caregivers behave with money? What feelings come up when I spend, save, or talk about money? Do I believe wealth is for me or for other people? When I imagine myself rich, what emotions do I feel? Excitement or guilt? This kind of inner inquiry doesn't require spreadsheets or calculators. It requires honesty, compassion, and a willingness to sit with discomfort long enough for clarity to emerge. You are not your past. You are not your old scripts. You are not your family's limitations. You are the author of the next chapter. And that chapter begins right here, with awareness. In the next chapter, we're going to begin the real rewiring process. We'll explore how to identify your dominant scripts, challenge their truth, and begin building a mindset of confidence, clarity, and abundance. You've done the hardest part already. You've started looking inward. Now, we build forward. Let's move on. Chapter 2. The Roots of Your Money Story. Let's pause here and turn inward, because before we go any further into strategies, growth, or financial rewiring, we have to go back. Not to budgets, not to balance sheets, but to the moments that quietly, invisibly, and powerfully shaped what money means to you. Let's go to the roots, to the beginning of your money story. We often think of financial problems as practical issues. I don't earn enough. I spend too much. I don't understand investing. But under every practical problem, there's a personal story, and every story begins somewhere. So let me ask you gently, when did money first make you feel something? Was it fear? Was it shame? Was it power? Was it love? Whatever it was, you remember it. Maybe not the date, maybe not the place, but somewhere in your body that memory still lives. That's what we call the origin of your money story. It began long before you ever touched money yourself. It began with what you saw, what you heard, what you felt. Even when nobody said anything, you learned about money the same way you learned to speak, to trust, to survive, by watching those around you. Let's talk about that. You were a child, and children are like sponges, emotionally open, constantly absorbing. You might have watched your parents fight about bills, or maybe you saw one of them struggle to provide, but never talk about it. Or maybe you felt safer when money was around and unsafe when it wasn't. Maybe you were told not to ask questions. We don't talk about money in this house. Just be grateful. It's none of your business. Money isn't everything. Rich people are greedy. We can't afford that, and so you learned. Not logically, not consciously, but emotionally. And those early emotional lessons, they didn't stay in childhood. They followed you. Psychologists call them money scripts. Deeply ingrained beliefs about money formed early in life, often without your awareness. They become the rules in your head that say, I should save everything just in case. I must never depend on others financially. If I'm successful, people will hate me. Wanting more makes me selfish. I have to struggle to be worthy. These scripts get passed down like family heirlooms, except instead of silverware, it's shame, fear, or silence. And generation after generation, those beliefs are repeated, replayed, reinforced. Until someone, maybe you, decides to break the cycle. Let's go even deeper. Some of your strongest beliefs around money were born during what we call financial flashpoints. Powerful emotional experiences connected to money that happened early in life. Maybe it was the day your electricity got shut off, or when your parents had to borrow from relatives, or when you were the only kid without lunch money, or the first time you saw someone use money to control or humiliate someone else. These moments aren't just painful memories. They're blueprints. Your young brain, trying to protect you, writes stories around these moments. Money disappears suddenly. Having money makes you a target. People only respect you if you have money. I'll never feel safe unless I have more than enough. And then those stories become your operating system. You start living according to them, even when they no longer apply. Here's something else most people never talk about. Financial trauma. Yes, trauma. Just like emotional abuse, neglect, or instability, money trauma is real, and it runs deep. Maybe you grew up in a home where there was never enough. Not enough food, not enough clothes, not enough peace. Maybe love and money were always tangled together. You only felt worthy when you performed, or were given affection after behaving, earning, or giving something back. Maybe you saw people lose everything, and you learned to hoard, to panic, to control. Maybe money was never stable in your life. 1 month flush, the next in crisis. And so you learned never to trust it, never to feel safe, and no matter how much you had. Financial trauma doesn't always look loud. It often shows up in silence, secrecy, and shame. In adults, it looks like avoiding money altogether, obsessing over every dollar, hoarding wealth but never enjoying it, overspending to feel temporarily powerful, underspending to feel safe, feeling unworthy of rest, leisure, or abundance. And here's the part that's hardest to face. You may not even remember the original moment, but your body does. Your reactions, the tension, the fear, the guilt, they tell the story, even when your mouth doesn't. Let me say something clearly. You are not broken. You are responding to a system you didn't create. A system that kept you alive, that protected you when you didn't have power. That made sense in the context you grew up in. But now you have the awareness. Now you have the choice. You can begin to ask, does this still serve me? Is this belief mine, or something I inherited? Am I ready to build a new relationship with money? One that's based on truth, not fear. It starts small, not with numbers, not with perfect spreadsheets, but with this: compassion for your younger self, the one who learned to fear, to perform, to control, to hide. The one who never got answers, only pressure. The one who made the best choices they could with the tools they had. You can honor that child and still outgrow their rules. You can say, thank you for surviving, and still decide to thrive. So here's your invitation. Take a pen, or your voice notes app, or just a moment of quiet reflection, and answer these questions. What early experiences shaped my views about money? What emotions do I associate with money? Fear, guilt, excitement, power? What messages did I hear growing up about rich people, about saving, about success? When I think about having more money, what fears come up? Whose voice do I still hear when I make financial decisions? Don't rush. Don't edit. Just listen. Because until you bring the roots of your story into the light, you'll keep watering the same beliefs over and over. And those beliefs will quietly shape the limits of your financial life. But now, You're no longer a child. You're not powerless anymore. You're not just repeating patterns, you're rewriting them, and that is where true wealth begins. Not just in what you earn, but in who you become in the process. In the next chapter, we'll go deeper into these money scripts, uncover the emotional patterns that quietly run your financial life, and most importantly, we'll begin the process of gently, intentionally rewiring them. You're not behind. You're exactly where you need to be. Let's keep going. Chapter 3. Unpacking your money scripts and contingent self-worth. Let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about it. When you look at your financial life, the patterns, the ups and downs, the stress or the struggle, have you ever asked yourself what beliefs are running the show? Not just what you know about money, but what you believe, what you feel, deep down, what you don't say out loud. Because no matter how much you earn, no matter how many goals you set or how many courses you take, if you don't address the unconscious beliefs driving your behavior, you'll always find yourself circling back to the same place. That's not failure. That's programming. And the programming has a name. We call them money scripts. Unconscious. Emotionally charged beliefs about money that shape how you think, how you feel, and how you act. They are not random. They were formed over time, mostly in childhood. You picked them up from your parents, your culture, your faith, the media, and you internalized them. They became part of you. And if you've never questioned them, they're probably still in charge. You might say, I don't even know what I believe about money. I just want more of it. Exactly. That's the point. Most of these scripts are invisible until we pause long enough to name them. But once you do, they start to lose their power. And that's what this chapter is about. Naming the patterns, so you can break them. The 4 core money scripts researchers and psychologists have identified 4 primary categories of money scripts. These are the most common and most influential core belief systems that shape people's relationship with money. You might identify with one, or you might find parts of yourself in all 4. That's normal. These scripts are fluid. They show up in different ways at different times in your life. Let's explore them one by one. Not just to understand them, but to recognize yourself within them. Money avoidance. Money is bad. People who care about it are selfish. I'm not the type to deal with finances. This script sounds noble on the surface. It can even feel morally superior. But underneath, it's rooted in fear, shame, and emotional discomfort around money. If you grew up in a household where money was always a source of stress, anger, or manipulation, you might have learned to disconnect from it. You might say things like, I don't care about money. I'm just not good with numbers. As long as I have enough to get by, I'm fine. But here's the thing. People who carry this script often avoid budgeting or tracking spending, delay paying bills, ignore financial decisions until they become emergencies, feel guilty about wanting more, secretly believe that being wealthy makes them a bad person. They associate money with anxiety, conflict, or moral compromise. And so, they distance themselves from it. But avoidance is a form of self-protection. It's a shield that says, if I don't look at it, I can't be hurt by it. But healing only happens through awareness. Money worship. If I just had more money, everything would be okay. This is the most seductive script, and the most common. It whispers that happiness is just one raise, one promotion, one breakthrough away. That money is the key to peace, love, and worth. People with this belief often overspend in pursuit of feeling better, tie success to how much they earn, fall into debt, chasing the next high struggle to enjoy what they have because it's never enough. They think, money will solve my problems. I'll be happy when I hit 6 figures. If I don't have more, I'm falling behind. But here's the trap. Money can improve your options, but it doesn't fix your feelings. And the belief that more money, more happiness creates a moving finish line you can never reach, even when you get the raise, buy the house, or build the business. The emptiness creeps back in because it wasn't about the money. It was about what you hoped it would heal. Money status. My value as a person is tied to my net worth. This one runs deep. You've seen it in others. Maybe you felt it in yourself. It's the belief that success, real success, was visible. You can measure it. You can show it. You can wear it. And so people with this script often chase luxury items not because they need them, but because they mean something, hide their financial stress to protect their image, spend to impress, even when they're drowning in debt, feel superior when they're doing well, and worthless when they're not. The voice of this script says, if I have more, I am more. If I don't, I'm less. It's exhausting because you're constantly performing, and deep down, you fear what would happen if people knew the truth. Money. Status believers often appear put together, successful, polished, admired. But inside they may be battling constant insecurity, fear of failure, and low self-worth. Money vigilance. You must be careful with money. Always save. Don't trust anyone with your finances. This script is often praised. After all, what's wrong with being cautious, right? Nothing. Until caution becomes control. People who live by money vigilance, save excessively, struggle to enjoy their money, obsessively track every cent, avoid credit at all costs, feel anxious when they spend, even on things they can afford, judge others for financial recklessness. They tend to believe money should be saved, not spent. If I let go, everything might collapse. You shouldn't talk about money openly. While this mindset might create financial safety, it often comes at the cost of emotional freedom. It's not about having money. It's about never feeling safe enough to use it. They live in quiet scarcity, even when their accounts are full. Do you see yourself in any of these? Do parts of your life reflect avoidance or worship or status or vigilance? Here's the truth. These scripts aren't flaws. They're survival strategies. They helped you navigate your past. They made sense in the environment you were raised in. But they are not you. They are not your truth. And they don't have to define your future. Now, I want you to pause for a moment. Let's bring this closer to home. Think of the last big financial decision you made. What script might have been influencing it? Did you say no to something you could afford, out of fear? Did you say yes to something you shouldn't, just to feel better for a moment? Did you avoid the decision altogether? These moments reveal everything. Because your behavior, especially under pressure, and always points back to belief. And that brings us to the next layer of this conversation, something even more personal. When does money stop being just about money and start becoming about you? In part 2, we'll explore the painful but powerful idea of contingent self-worth, when your value as a person depends on your financial success. We'll unpack how this shows up in your life, and most importantly, how to untie your worth from your wealth, because you are more than what you earn, and until you believe that, money will always control the way you see yourself. Let's shift the spotlight, because now we're going to talk about something that most people feel, but very few people name. The belief that your self-worth depends on your financial success. This idea doesn't come with a flashing sign. It doesn't introduce itself. It sneaks in quietly, one achievement at a time, one pay raise at a time, one moment of comparison at a time, and suddenly, you're not just managing money anymore. You're using it to measure who you are. This is what psychologists call financial contingency of self-worth, or financial line. CSW. Let's break it down. Contingency of self-worth means your identity, your sense of being good enough, becomes conditional. It's not rooted in who you are. It's rooted in what you achieve. And in this case, it's how well you're doing financially. Now let's be clear. There's nothing wrong with ambition. There's nothing wrong with working hard or wanting more. But here's the problem. When your value as a human being becomes tangled up with your net worth, you become emotionally unstable, not just in your finances, but in your identity. Every financial win becomes a temporary high. Every financial setback becomes a personal failure. You're no longer just navigating money. You're basing your worth on it. Let me give you a few signs that financial CSW might be shaping your life, even if you've never said it out loud. You feel uncomfortable when someone earns more than you, even if you like them. You avoid people who seem more successful because they make you feel inferior. You push yourself to work even when you're exhausted, because slowing down feels like failure. You feel ashamed if you're not making progress financially, even if you're trying your best. You don't just want to be stable. You need to be admired, to be seen as the one who made it. Do any of those sound familiar? If so, take a breath. There's nothing wrong with you, but it means you've internalized a message, probably a long time ago, that says, unless I succeed financially, I'm not enough. Let's look at where this comes from, because this belief doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's shaped by early experiences, family expectations, culture, school, media, and most of all, emotional moments that connected money with love, approval, or safety. Think about it. Were you praised only when you achieved something? Did your family link success to status? Did you feel invisible unless you were doing something impressive? Did adults in your life tie their own identity to their job title, income, or career? Were you made to feel like you had to prove yourself? If so, your brain made the connection. Success, safety, money, identity, approval, performance. And it became a lens, one you've been looking through ever since. Here's the hard truth. When your worth is attached to money, your emotions live in a constant boom and bust cycle. You feel high when money is flowing, low when things slow down, anxious during uncertainty, ashamed when things fall apart, competitive when others seem ahead, numb when success doesn't. Feel like enough, it's not just exhausting and it's unsustainable. Because no one, not even billionaires, lives in a permanent financial high. Life has seasons. And when your identity rises and falls with the market, you lose yourself in the noise. Let me tell you a story. There was a man in his 40s. We'll call him Mark. Mark was respected, successful, a provider for his family. He had built a great business. He had a house, 2 cars, savings, recognition. But every time the market dipped, even slightly, he unraveled. He didn't just feel concern. He felt shame. He'd snap at his kids. He'd avoid his friends. He'd withdraw from his wife. He'd obsess over numbers, forecasts, projections, anything to prove that he was still okay. Because deep down, Mark wasn't managing a business. He was managing his self-worth. And the numbers weren't just numbers. They were his reflection. Now here's what's even more dangerous. People with high financial CSW are more likely to sabotage themselves, not because they're lazy or foolish, but because they're addicted to proving themselves. They overextend themselves. Hide financial struggles instead of asking for help. Invest in things just to look successful. Avoid rest, because rest feels like failure. Struggle to enjoy success when they have it. They live with a constant fear of being found out. And the worst part? Even when they win, they don't feel it. Because the goalposts keep moving. The success is never enough. The insecurity just finds a new number to chase. So how do you start untangling yourself from this trap? How do you stop confusing your worth with your wealth? It starts with one courageous decision. You stop defining yourself by external scoreboards. You start anchoring your identity in who you are, not what you produce. You begin practicing self-acceptance, not just when things are going well, but especially when they're not. You begin separating your effort from your outcome. You begin learning how to sit with discomfort without attaching shame to it. Here are a few steps to help you do that. Gently, gradually, but intentionally. Identify the triggers. When do you feel less than? Is it when you see someone post their success online? When someone asks how much you earn? When you make a mistake financially? Write it down. Awareness is the first step to detachment. Separate doing from being. You can do great things without being a great person. You can fail and still be deeply worthy. Start catching the language you use. Not, I failed. I'm such a loser. But, that didn't go as planned. I'm learning. You are not your paycheck. You are not your balance sheet. You are not your last mistake. Celebrate non-financial wins. Start tracking progress that has nothing to do with money. Setting boundaries. Saying no to something unhealthy. Taking a rest day, being present with loved ones. Asking for help. These things are powerful. They build real strength, the kind that no dollar amount can buy. Redefine success on your own terms. What does success feel like for you? Not society, not your parents, not Instagram. You. Maybe it's peace. Maybe it's freedom. Maybe it's sleeping well at night. Maybe it's showing up for your kids. Maybe it's doing meaningful work, even if it doesn't make you rich. Write your own definition. Make it the one you actually want to live by. And finally, 5. Practice self-worth daily, not as a reward, but as a baseline. Talk to yourself with kindness. Even when you're broke, even when you're behind, even when you make a mistake, your worth is not earned. It is inherent. Your financial journey matters, yes, but your value as a person, that's non-negotiable. So as we close this chapter, let me say something that I hope you never forget. You are not your income, you are not your debt, you are not your past, you are not what others think of you. You are not only as good as your last win, you are worthy. Today, right now, no matter what the numbers say, and when you start living from that truth, everything changes. Because now money becomes a tool, not a mirror, a resource, not a scoreboard, a partner, not a prison. In Chapter 4, we'll take this deeper and explore the psychology behind your financial decisions, the mental traps, emotional habits, and behavioral patterns that silently influence your choices. It's time to upgrade your decisions by first understanding what's driving them. Let's continue. Chapter 4. The psychology of your financial decisions. Let's pause for a moment and ask something most people never even consider. Why do I do what I do with money? Think about it. Why do you spend more than you planned when you're stressed? Why do you hesitate to invest even after months of research? Why do you avoid looking at your bank statement until you're forced to? You might tell yourself it's because of lack of income, poor math skills, or being bad with money. But beneath all that, something else is happening, something deeper, something invisible. Your brain, the same brain wired to keep you safe thousands of years ago, is still calling the shots. Even when you're checking your balance, even when you're swiping your card, even when you're saying, "I'll deal with it later." This is what financial psychology is all about. The emotional, unconscious, and irrational forces that influence every financial decision we make. And here's the truth. Money is never just about money. It's about how you feel. It's about what you fear. It's about what you believe. It's about survival, security, status, love, freedom, and sometimes shame. We like to think we're logical beings. We imagine ourselves as rational, calculated decision makers. But decades of research, from psychology, neurology, and behavioral economics, show something very different. We're not calculators, we're humans, emotional, reactive, pattern-driven. And that includes, especially, when it comes to money. Let's break this down. Your brain in its raw design was built for one thing: survival. It wasn't designed for budgets. It wasn't designed for credit cards, stock markets, or 20-year mortgages. It was designed to respond to danger, scarcity, and uncertainty. And money? Well, it feels like all three. To your nervous system, a sudden expense, a drop in income, or the fear of not having enough feels almost identical to being chased by a predator. You tense up, you panic, you shut down, you act impulsively, or you freeze and do nothing. And here's the thing. The more emotional the decision, the less rational we become. This is where behavioral biases come in, the hidden traps in our thinking that affect what we do with our finances. Let's look at some of the most common ones, and how they might be silently influencing you right now. Loss aversion. This bias says, losing something feels worse than gaining something of equal value feels good. In simple terms, the pain of losing $100 feels stronger than the pleasure of gaining $100. This leads us to avoid risk, even when the odds are in our favor, hold on to bad investments longer than we should, make safe choices that keep us stuck. Miss out on opportunities out of fear. Loss aversion can make you overly cautious. You might avoid starting a business, switching jobs, or investing in yourself, just to avoid the possibility of losing. But in doing so, you also avoid the possibility of growth. Present bias. This one whispers, now matters more than later. It's what causes you to overspend on things that feel good in the moment, delay saving for retirement, ignore long-term consequences, procrastinate on financial decisions. Your brain values immediate rewards more than future ones. Even if you know what's better in the long term, your emotions often override that logic. You say, I deserve this today. And maybe you do. But if this becomes a pattern, your future self pays the price. Confirmation bias. This is your brain saying, I want to be right, not necessarily informed. You seek out information that supports what you already believe, and you ignore or reject anything that challenges it. If you believe you're bad with money, you'll focus on every mistake and dismiss every success. If you believe investing is risky, you'll fixate on every market crash and ignore the long-term growth data. Confirmation bias keeps your beliefs locked in place, even if they're harmful. Anchoring bias. This happens when your brain latches onto the first piece of information it sees and uses it as a reference point. For example, if you see a course that costs $3,000 and then see one that costs $500, the second one feels cheap, even if it's still a stretch. If you once earned $80,000 and now earn $60,000, it feels like a loss, even if you're financially okay. Your brain doesn't always compare rationally. It compares emotionally to the anchor it first grabbed onto. Overconfidence bias. This one tricks you into thinking, I know more than I actually do. It can lead you to take bigger risks without enough information. Rely on gut instinct. Instead of data, ignore expert advice, dismiss financial planning. Confidence is important, but unchecked overconfidence can cause damage, especially when money's on the line. These are just a few of the biases influencing your decisions. There are more. Sunk cost fallacy. Staying in a losing situation because you've already invested. Herd mentality. Doing what others do even if it doesn't serve you. Status quo bias. Choosing comfort over change even when change is needed. And the truth is, you've probably fallen into all of them at some point. We all have. But here's what makes the difference. The people who transform their finances learn to recognize the trap before they step in it. They don't become robots. They become more self-aware. They slow down. They pause. They ask, is this fear or fact? Is this an old pattern or a wise choice? This is where emotional intelligence meets financial intelligence. Because without emotional mastery, even the best financial strategies fall flat. You might know what you should do, but still not do it. Plan for the future, but sabotage it. Emotionally save money, but feel constant anxiety. Earn more, but still feel broke. That's because your money decisions aren't happening on spreadsheets. They're happening in your nervous system, in your belief system, in your history. So, what do we do with this awareness? How do you retrain a brain that was never designed for money in the first place? That's what we'll cover in part 2. We'll explore the role of personality in spending and saving, how to override emotional triggers, the practical tools that help your rational brain stay in charge, and how to stop making decisions from fear, and start making them from clarity. You're not broken. You're human. But now that you see the patterns, you're no longer a prisoner of them. Let's continue. Now that we've looked at how your brain, emotions, and biases shape your financial behavior, let's go one layer deeper. Because awareness is powerful, but it's just the beginning. The next step is learning how to respond consciously, not react automatically. It's about understanding your personality, your emotional triggers, and the mental patterns that drive your decisions, so you can make choices that align with who you want to become. This isn't about perfection. It's about mastery. And mastery doesn't mean controlling every moment. It means knowing yourself well enough to not fall into the same old traps. Step 1. Know your financial personality. Let's start with something most people skip. Understanding how your natural temperament affects your financial decisions. Because money doesn't exist in a vacuum. It interacts with your identity, your fears, habits, and even your mood. Some people are naturally spenders. They associate money with freedom, joy, or self-expression. They often spend impulsively, especially when emotionally charged, happy or sad. Spenders tend to value experience over security and are vulnerable to buyer's remorse. Savers. They feel safe when they're in control. They often associate money with survival or stability. While disciplined, savers can be overly rigid, sometimes missing opportunities out of fear. Avoiders. They see money as stressful, overwhelming, or boring. They delay decisions, ignore problems, and hope things sort themselves out. Avoiders often carry guilt and shame around finances. Planners. They organize everything. They track expenses, set goals, forecast the future. While this can be empowering, it can also become obsessive or inflexible. No one is just one type. You may move between types depending on your life stage, stress level, or past experiences. But knowing your dominant tendencies helps you predict your pitfalls and work around them. Step 2. Identify your emotional triggers. Have you ever noticed how you spend more when you're angry, or avoid money completely when you're scared, or make snap decisions when you're overwhelmed? That's your emotional brain hijacking your financial choices, and it's incredibly common. Money doesn't just sit in your wallet, it lives in your nervous system. That's why your reactions are so visceral. Heart racing when checking your bank account, shame when someone brings up investing, guilt after spending on yourself, panic at the thought of running out. These aren't logical reactions. They're emotional echoes of past experiences, trauma, scarcity, rejection, or fear. And unless you interrupt the pattern, they'll keep running the show. So here's a tool I recommend: the pause and name technique. Whenever you feel a strong emotional pull around money, stop and name it. Say it out loud or write it down. Right now I'm feeling anxious, greedy, afraid, ashamed, avoidant. Then ask yourself, what's this really about? Have I felt this before? What does this emotion want me to do? Is that action helpful or harmful? This creates a gap between impulse and action, and in that gap, you regain control. You shift from reacting to responding. Step 3. Set micro boundaries with yourself. Here's a big mistake people make when trying to improve financially. They go from 0 to 60. They say things like, I'll never spend on luxury again. I'll track every cent from now on. I'll invest half my income this month. And for a few days, it works, till the emotional brain rebels, and the whole thing collapses. The key isn't massive change. It's tiny, respectful boundaries, like waiting 24 hours before buying something over $100, setting a weekly money hour to check in without judgment, giving yourself a fixed, guilt-free spending allowance, practicing saying no to one unnecessary purchase a day, journaling once a week about your financial feelings. These small actions train your nervous system to feel safe around money again, because mastery isn't built in crisis, it's built in consistency. Step 4. Override old scripts with new language. Every time you say something like, I'm terrible with money, I'll always be broke, I can't afford anything nice, rich people are just lucky, money makes people greedy, you reinforce a neural pathway, a shortcut your brain uses to explain reality. But if you want to change your financial behavior, you have to start talking to yourself differently. Try replacing those old lines with, I'm learning to be smarter with money. I deserve stability and abundance. I can grow my wealth without guilt. My past does not define my future. I make empowered choices with money. Say them out loud. Write them down. Repeat them when the old voice shows up. This isn't delusion, it's rewiring. Step 5. Learn to tolerate discomfort. Here's the hard truth. You will never have a healthy relationship with money if you're unwilling to sit with uncomfortable emotions. You have to be willing to look at your numbers without flinching, open the bills without shutting down, talk to your partner honestly, say no when it matters, admit when you've made a mistake, forgive yourself, and keep going. Financial growth isn't always exciting. Sometimes it's slow, boring, or painful. But each time you face the discomfort, instead of running from it, you build resilience. And resilience is the real currency of wealth. Step 6. Make decisions from identity, not emotion. One of the most powerful upgrades you can make. Start making decisions based on who you want to become, not how you feel in the moment. Ask yourself, what would the financially empowered version of me do right now? Would they panic and spend to feel better? Or would they pause, breathe, and choose differently? Would they hide from the issue? Or would they get curious and take one small action? This is how you shift your financial future. Not with force, but with alignment. You stop asking, what's easy right now? And you start asking, what builds my future self? Step 7. Track energy, not just expenses. This one's subtle, but powerful. Instead of only tracking what you spend, start tracking how each purchase makes you feel. After you spend, ask, did this energize me? Did it align with my values? Did it serve a meaningful need? Or did it drain me? Distract me? Make me feel worse? This helps you identify patterns that numbers alone can't show. Maybe you realize you spend most when you feel unseen. You splurge to avoid feeling small. You save compulsively when you feel unsafe. You use generosity to earn love. This level of awareness changes everything, because now, money becomes a mirror for emotional insight, not just a measurement tool. Final thoughts. For this chapter, you are not doomed by your past behavior. You are not defined by your impulses. You are not broken because your emotions sometimes run the show. You are human. And the fact that you're even listening to this right now means you're already doing something most people never do. You're facing the truth with open eyes and an open heart. That's how change begins, not with more hustle, but with more awareness. So next time you catch yourself about to make a financial decision, big or small, pause and ask yourself, am I reacting or am I remembering who I'm becoming? Because that one question has the power to change everything. In Chapter 5, we'll take all this inner awareness and move into transformation. You'll learn step-by-step strategies to replace limiting beliefs, reset emotional patterns, and begin building a money mindset that supports not just your income, but your entire identity. Get ready to rebuild. Let's continue. Chapter 5. Taking Control. Strategies for Transformation. If you've made it this far, I want to pause and acknowledge something. You're not just listening, you're transforming. You're peeling back the layers, sitting with hard truths, noticing what was once invisible. That alone puts you ahead of 99% of people, because most never stop to ask, why do I believe what I believe about money? Where did this story come from? And is it still serving me? Or is it holding me hostage? These are not easy questions. They take courage, they take honesty, and most of all, they take responsibility. But here's the beautiful truth. You are not stuck. The scripts you inherited, the beliefs you absorbed, the emotional patterns that used to run your financial life, they are not permanent. They can be recognized, they can be challenged, they can be rewritten, and that's exactly what this chapter is about. Step 1. Recognize your money scripts. You can't change what you don't understand, and you can't understand what you haven't named. So the first step toward transformation is recognition. Grab a notebook, open a blank page in your Notes app, or just sit with your thoughts and begin to ask, what beliefs do I carry about money? Where did I learn them? Do I even believe they're true? This is where you begin to dig up the roots. You're not judging them, you're just observing. Because you can't heal a wound by pretending it's not there. Ask yourself these questions one by one. What did I learn about money from my parents or caregivers? Were finances discussed openly, or hidden in silence? And stress? Did money feel like a source of joy, control, power, love, or fear? Was I taught to chase it, hoard it, avoid it, or serve it? What beliefs did I develop about people who had money? What stories did I absorb about debt, wealth, saving, success? Write everything down. There's no right or wrong. There's just truth. And truth sets the stage for transformation. Step 2. Connect scripts to behavior. Once you begin to name your beliefs, you'll start to notice how they shape your actions, even today. Let's say you believe, I'm not good with money. That belief might cause you to avoid budgeting, let someone else handle your finances, sabotage financial opportunities, overspend to feel in control, stay stuck in jobs that underpay you. Or maybe you carry a belief like, wanting more makes me greedy. That could cause you to undervalue your services, avoid negotiating salaries, resist investing in your own growth, judge others who talk openly about wealth. See the pattern? Every belief creates a behavior, and every behavior reinforces the belief till you interrupt the loop. Step 3. Ask the golden question. When you catch a belief, ask yourself, am I 100% certain that this is true? That's it. Let the question sit, because most of your beliefs, they aren't truths. They're stories, often based on partial evidence, old experiences, or someone else's fears. They might have made sense when you were 7 or 17, but they no longer match the person you're becoming, so challenge them. What else might be true? Could someone else, someone wise, confident, financially secure, see this differently if I let go of this belief? What becomes possible? This is how beliefs begin to break open, not with violence, Mom, but with curiosity. Let's take a few limiting beliefs and turn them into empowering new ones, so your mind begins to follow a different path. Listen closely and feel which ones apply to you. If your old belief was, I'll always struggle with money, your new belief becomes, I'm learning to manage money with clarity and confidence. If the old voice says, I'm just bad with finances, replace it with, I can build financial skills one step at a time. Maybe you've heard yourself think, rich people are greedy. Now say, wealth can be used for good, and I'm learning to become someone who uses it wisely. If your inner critic whispers, I don't deserve abundance, Mo, say instead, I am worthy of peace, prosperity, and financial ease. And if you've told yourself, success is for other people, speak this truth. I'm becoming the kind of person who creates success when on my own terms. Say these phrases out loud. Feel the difference. Because the way you talk to yourself is the foundation of everything you build. Write your own reframes. Put them where you'll see them. On your mirror, your lock screen, your journal. And repeat them. Not because they're magic, but because repetition creates new neural pathways. New pathways create new habits. New habits create new results. Step 5. Use daily micro-practices. Big change isn't made in one moment. It's made in daily alignment. Here are a few practices that help reinforce your mindset shift. Morning intention setting. Every morning, take 60 seconds and say, today, I choose to think differently about money. That's it. This simple act recenters your focus. Daily affirmation practice. Choose one affirmation that resonates with your new identity. Say it out loud. Example: I make wise, abundant financial choices that support my future. Say it with conviction. Say it when you feel fear creeping in. Say it until your nervous system begins to believe it. 10-minute reflection. Time. Every evening, take 10 minutes to reflect. What did I think or feel about money today? Did I act from fear or power? What did I learn about myself? What do I want to reinforce tomorrow? This creates awareness through consistency, and awareness leads to control. The rewriting exercise. Once a week, sit down and rewrite a piece of your money story. For example, when I was young, I saw money as something scary and unstable. But now I'm building a relationship with money based on safety, clarity, and trust. I don't have to carry the stress of the past. I get to choose a new pattern, one rooted in peace. This is healing work. And the more you do it, the lighter. Your relationship with money becomes one small, bold action. Each day, take one step toward the financially empowered version of yourself. That might be asking a question you've avoided, starting a savings plan, saying no to a purchase, scheduling a call with a financial advisor, journaling about a fear, reading one page of a book on wealth. Small steps, repeated with intention, change everything. Step 6. Anchor to your vision. It's not enough to fight the old story. You must also build the new one. Take a moment and ask, what does my ideal financial future feel like? Not just the numbers, the feeling. Peace, confidence, freedom, impact. stability, generosity. Hold that feeling in your mind. Let it guide your actions. Let it anchor you when fear shows up. Let it become your why. Because when you act from your vision, you don't just change your money. You change your identity. You become the kind of person who thinks clearly, acts wisely, and grows with purpose. In part 2, we'll go even deeper. I'll guide you through the emotional work of letting go of guilt, dealing with resistance, and building habits that reinforce your new mindset over time. You've done the inner work. Now let's make it stick. Let's continue. Let's take a breath together. You've come a long way already. You've uncovered your money story. You've questioned old beliefs. You've even started rewriting the ones that no longer serve you. But there's something we need to talk about. Now, something almost every person encounters at this stage of transformation. Resistance. You see, even when you're moving in the right direction, even when you know you're doing the right work, a part of you might still pull back. It whispers, "Be careful." It says, "This isn't you." It reminds you of the old way, because the old way is safe, familiar, known, and that resistance, it's not sabotage, it's self-protection. Think of it like this. If you've spent years, maybe decades, living with a certain belief, it's become part of your identity. So when you try to change it, even if that change is good, your brain treats it like a threat, not because it wants to hurt you, but because it doesn't trust the unknown. That's why transformation can feel uncomfortable, even when it's empowering. So the question becomes, how do you keep going when resistance shows up? That's what this part of the chapter is about. Step 1. Name the resistance without shame. The first step is to stop pretending it's not there. When you notice resistance, in the form of procrastination, doubt, fear, or even fatigue, don't judge it. Just say, "Ah, there you are. I see you." Maybe it's the voice that says, "I'll do that exercise later," or "This probably won't work for me anyway," or "I've tried this kind of thing before." Don't argue with the voice. Don't try to silence it. Just recognize that it's your nervous system adjusting to a new way of being, that's all. This one shift, from self-judgment to self-awareness, changes everything. Step 2. Keep the action tiny, but daily big. Changes trigger big resistance, that's why we go small. Forget 10-year plans for a moment. Forget financial perfection. Focus on one micro-action per day that reinforces your new identity. It could be saying your affirmation in the mirror, checking your bank account without fear, reflecting on one money win from the day, drinking your coffee while visualizing financial peace, pausing before a purchase and asking, "Is this aligned with who I'm becoming?" That's it. You don't need to overhaul your entire life in 1 week. You just need to stay in motion, gently, because consistency rewires your beliefs, not force. Step 3. Feel the emotions you used to avoid. Let's go deeper now. Most money patterns are not logical. They're emotional, and behind every behavior you're trying to change, there's an unprocessed feeling: fear, guilt, shame, grief, anger. When you begin to shift those patterns, those emotions may rise to the surface. That's a good thing. It means the system is unlocking, so when you feel the wave of discomfort, don't run from it. Sit with it. Breathe. Say to yourself, "This is just a feeling. It will pass, and I am safe." Because healing doesn't come from numbing your emotions. It comes from feeling them and surviving it. Each time you do, your nervous system builds trust in this new version of you. Step 4. Practice energy. Clearing. Sometimes the emotional charge around money isn't just mental, it's physical. It lives in the body. Here are a few simple techniques to clear and reset. EFT tapping. Use your fingertips to gently tap specific points on your face and upper body, while repeating phrases like, "Even though I feel fear around money, I deeply and completely accept myself. I am safe to grow financially. I release old stories and welcome new patterns." This helps regulate your nervous system and reduce anxiety. Deep breathing before handling money, whether budgeting, paying bills, or checking your account. Pause and take 3 deep breaths. Inhale slowly. Hold for a moment. Exhale. Fully. Repeat 3 times. Tell your body, this moment is safe. I am in control. This small ritual turns fear into focus. Grounding visualization. Close your eyes and imagine roots growing from your feet into the ground. Picture yourself standing tall, stable, supported. Now imagine financial energy flowing gently toward you. Steady, calm, abundant. Say, I am grounded, I am supported, I am open to receiving. Simple but powerful, because mindset is not just in the head. It's felt in the body. Step 5. Reconnect with your why. When transformation gets hard, and it will, your reason must be bigger than your resistance. So ask yourself, why am I doing this? Not just to have more money. That's surface level. Go deeper. Maybe your why is, so your children don't grow up with the same stress you did. So you can finally stop surviving and start living. So you can travel, give, and grow with freedom. So you can sleep at night without anxiety. So you can prove to yourself that the past doesn't get to define the future, whatever it is, and write it down. Say it out loud. Make it your anchor. Because your why is what keeps you grounded when the old world tries to pull you back. Step 6. Define success on your own terms. So many people stay stuck financially because they're chasing someone else's idea of success. They think they have to hit 6 figures, buy a house, own a luxury car, launch a company, retire early. But what if your definition is simpler? What if your success looks like paying off one debt, feeling peace when you open your bank app, having money conversations without shame, saying no to things that drain you, creating a life that feels spacious, not pressured? Define success your way and live that version boldly. Step 7. Trust the process, even when you can't see the result. Yet this is hard, because your brain wants evidence. It wants to see the money. It wants to feel the outcome. But mindset work is like planting a seed underground. For a while, there's no sign of change. But deep beneath the surface, things are shifting. And if you stay consistent, the breakthrough comes. So trust the invisible. Trust the tiny steps. Trust the silence, because real change is happening, even when it's not loud. A final word before we move on. You don't have to get it perfect. You just have to keep showing up. One thought, one choice, one day at a time. You are not your past mistakes. You are not your bank balance. You are not what the world told you money should mean. You are a builder now, a rewriter, a pattern breaker. You are someone who dares to choose a new story and live it. Keep going. Because the version of you you're becoming, they already exist, and they're waiting for you on the other side of this chapter. Let's move forward into chapter 6, where we'll dive into the most powerful mindset of all, the abundance mindset. Let's continue. Chapter 6. Cultivating an abundance mindset. Let's begin this chapter with a simple truth. Your relationship with money isn't just about how much you earn. It's about how much you believe is possible. Because here's the reality, most people never pause to realize 2 people can earn the same amount, save the same amount, and still live in 2 completely different emotional worlds. One feels like there's never enough. The other feels at peace. One constantly chases. The other calmly creates. One feels small, anxious, reactive. The other moves through life with confidence, vision, and freedom. The difference? Mindset. More specifically, abundance versus scarcity. Let's talk about what that really means. A scarcity mindset believes there's never enough. Not enough money, not enough time, not enough opportunities, not enough for you. This mindset shows up like this, worrying even when things are okay. Judging others who have what you want, feeling envious, but also guilty for wanting more, underselling yourself, resisting investing in your future, believing money comes with pressure, not peace. It's subtle, but powerful. And it doesn't always look like desperation. Sometimes it looks like control, perfectionism, overworking, or constantly planning, but never feeling safe enough to enjoy what you've built. Now let's look at the other side. An abundance mindset believes something very different. There is more than enough. and I am enough. Abundance isn't blind optimism. It doesn't mean you never struggle. It doesn't mean pretending life is always easy. It means that even when things are uncertain, you trust, that you're capable, that solutions exist, that resources can grow, that money can be a tool, not a trap, that you don't have to sacrifice your peace to create prosperity. With an abundance mindset, you stop thinking like a survivor. You start thinking like a builder. You don't just work harder. You work smarter, lighter, and freer, and most of all, you stop waiting for permission to succeed. You stop asking, is this realistic? And you start asking, what would happen if I actually believed in this? But how do you build an abundance mindset, especially if you've lived in scarcity for a long time? It starts inside, not with money, but with identity. Because the way you think, speak, and carry yourself tells your mind what to expect from life. So let's begin with one of the most powerful tools available: reframing your inner dialogue. Your words create your world. If you constantly say, I can't afford that, money is stressful, I never get ahead, people like me don't succeed, your brain takes those words and turns them into reality. But if you shift that voice even slightly, everything starts to open up. Try these instead. I'm creating the resources I need. I'm learning how to manage money with ease. I welcome opportunities to grow. I am worthy of success that feels good to live in. These statements aren't magic. They're anchors, steady reminders that point your mind in the right direction. You don't have to believe them completely at first. You just have to be willing to consider that they might be true. And with repetition, your nervous system begins to relax into a new identity. Affirmations for abundance. Let's walk through some affirmations together. You can say them quietly. You can whisper them. You can even just think them slowly. But speak them like you mean it, and like it's already happening. I let go of all limiting beliefs about money. I open myself to receive abundance, prosperity, and financial freedom. I attract my ideal financial reality with ease and confidence. I release all negative energy around money and welcome new growth. I am fully deserving of limitless abundance and the freedom it brings. Every day, I embody a mindset of abundance wherein prosperity flows to me. Pick one or two that feel right. Say them every day. Repeat them when fear shows up. Because affirmations don't just change your thoughts, they change your energy, and energy shapes your behavior. Stop focusing on the lack. One of the biggest shifts into abundance is learning to redirect your attention. Scarcity loves to focus on what you don't have, what you missed out on, what others seem to have more of, but abundance shifts the lens. It says, look at what I've already created. Look at how far I've come. Look at what's still possible. What can I build with what I have now? Start paying attention to where your energy goes, because what you focus on, you fuel. Practice receiving without guilt. Here's a powerful truth. Some people block abundance not because they don't want more, but because they feel guilty receiving it. Maybe you were taught that success is selfish, that money changes people, that wanting more makes you greedy or ungrateful. But here's the truth. When you receive from a place of alignment, you don't just help yourself, you create space to help others too. You become more generous, more relaxed, more creative, more available to be of service. So the next time something good comes your way, don't shrink, don't apologize. Say, thank you. I'm ready. I'm open to this. Because receiving is part of growth. Design a vision of abundance. Now let's take it a step further. Close your eyes and imagine your abundant future in detail. What does your life look like? What does your home feel like? How do you spend your mornings? Who are you surrounded by? What kind of decisions are you making with money? Calmly, confidently, without fear, let it play like a movie in your mind. Not because it's a fantasy, but because it's a seed. The more you envision the life you want, clearly and regularly, the more your brain begins to accept it as possible. That's the power of visualization. And if you want to take it even further, create a physical vision board. You can print pictures, write words, add colors, quotes, affirmations, put it somewhere you'll see it often. Not as a wish list, but as a daily reminder of who you're becoming. Live from the energy you want to create. Finally, here's one of the most powerful abundance practices of all. Act like the person you're becoming, not the person you're trying to escape. Ask yourself each day, how would a confident, abundant version of me handle this? What would they do with this challenge? How would they walk into this room? What would they believe in this moment? And then, act accordingly. Even if it's small, even if it's just one choice, even if your old voice says, that's not like you, because that's how you shift identity, by living it before it feels natural. And soon, it becomes natural. That's what abundance really is. Not an outcome, a state of being. So now you've begun to open the door to abundance. You've challenged scarcity. You've planted new beliefs. You've even started speaking the language of expansion and prosperity. But here's the question most people get stuck on. How do I keep this mindset alive when the world around me is still living in fear? It's a fair question. Because once you begin to live with abundance, emotionally, mentally, even spiritually, you start to notice how many people don't. People who complain about money constantly. People who believe you must hustle forever to succeed. People who scoff at dreaming big. People who shame success because they're afraid of it. And sometimes you even hear that voice inside your own head, the one that says, this is too good to be true. Who do you think you are? It won't last. That's why this part of the journey is so important. Because cultivating an abundant mindset isn't a one-time event. It's a daily practice, a lifestyle, a decision you recommit to, again and again. Let's walk through exactly how to live in that mindset day after day, even when the noise around you tries to pull you back. 1. Create an inner environment that supports growth. Abundance starts inside, but it's sustained by what surrounds you. So begin by curating your environment. That includes what you read, what you listen to, who you talk to, how you talk to yourself, what thoughts you entertain when no one's around. Start asking, does this input support who I'm becoming or who I used to be? If it's draining, disempowering, or fear-based, let it go. This could mean turning off the news when it becomes fear-driven, unfollowing social media accounts that trigger scarcity or comparison, spending less time with people who criticize ambition or shame success, choosing podcasts, books, or videos that reinforce belief, growth, and truth. Because what you feed your mind becomes the background noise of your day. And that noise shapes your decisions. Choose abundance on purpose. 2. Speak abundance fluently, even in challenges. The real test of your mindset isn't when everything's going great. It's when things get tight, uncertain, disruptive. That's when the old programming tries to come back, the fear, the doubt, the habit of shrinking or blaming. But here's where you take the lead. Instead of saying, this always happens to me, say, this is a challenge, but I'm capable of finding a solution. Instead of, I can't afford that, try, that's not in my plan right now, but I'm creating the space for it. Instead of, everything's falling apart, say, this is a reset, not a failure. Language matters. Speak in a way that aligns with the version of you that's calm, empowered, and abundant, especially when things feel tough. Because that's how you build resilience without falling back into fear. Practice generosity in your own way. One of the quickest ways to expand into abundance is to give, from a place of love, not pressure. Generosity doesn't mean donating millions or giving beyond your means. It means helping someone without expecting anything in return, sharing knowledge freely, tipping with intention, encouraging a friend who's just starting out, giving time or energy to something that matters to you, offering gratitude without needing to be praised for it. Generosity tells your subconscious, I am not in lack. I have something to give. I trust there's more than enough. And when you live from that space, what more truly begins to flow. Because you're no longer guarding, you're expanding. And expansion is the nature of abundance. 4. Develop habits that mirror the abundant you. If you want to become abundant, you have to act like someone who already is. Ask yourself, what would the abundant version of me do in this situation? And then, practice that version through daily habits. For example, the abundant you might wake up and set intentions for the day. They might check finances with clarity, not fear. They might invest in growth, not just in products, but in mindset, skills, and well-being. They might organize their space knowing that clarity outside reflects clarity inside. They might practice gratitude every evening, anchoring the progress they're making. These don't have to be grand gestures. They just have to be consistent expressions of belief. Because identity isn't created through massive declarations. It's created by repeating a new behavior until it becomes natural. 5. Visualize your ideal life. Every day. And align with it. This might sound simple, but it's one of the most powerful tools you have. Set aside just 5 minutes a day to visualize. Close your eyes, take a breath, and step inside the life you're building. See yourself waking up in your ideal space. Feel what it's like to open your financial apps without anxiety. Imagine yourself making decisions from calm confidence. Picture yourself smiling because things feel light, not forced. Imagine conversations where you speak about your goals with ease and joy. This isn't fantasy, it's programming, because your subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's vividly imagined and what's real. The more you experience the abundance you want and internally, the more your external world begins to shift in response. 6. Anchor your mindset with daily gratitude. Here's a truth most people miss. Gratitude is not the opposite of ambition. It's what makes ambition sustainable. Without gratitude, the pursuit of more becomes hollow. But with it, every step feels like progress. Each day, take a few moments to say or write what you're grateful for. It could be, I'm grateful for the bills I can pay. They remind me of the flow I've created. I'm grateful for the lessons I've learned about money, even the hard ones. I'm grateful that I get to choose how I think no matter what's in my account. Gratitude doesn't ignore challenges, it just refuses to be defined by them. And it teaches your brain to notice what's working, so you can build on it. 7. Surround yourself with people who think bigger. If you spend time with people who constantly complain about money, hate their jobs, and distrust success, you'll absorb their energy, even if you don't agree with them. So be intentional about who you learn from, who you share your ideas with, who you allow into your mental space. That might mean joining a group of people focused on growth, listening to podcasts that stretch your thinking, reading books that lift your standards, having honest conversations with people who want more from life. You don't need to cut people out completely. Just be mindful of the energy you absorb and the energy you project. Abundance grows in environments of vision, belief, and alignment. Build yours on purpose. Final thought for this chapter. You're not just building new beliefs, you're building a new way of being. A way where money is not your enemy, but your partner. Where growth doesn't come from fear, but from clarity. Where you no longer chase, but attract. Where your choices come from love, not lack. That is abundance. It's not about having everything. It's about realizing that everything you need to begin is already within you. And the rest, you'll build it, one bold, clear, aligned step at a time. In Chapter 7, we'll explore how to take this new identity and integrate it fully, not just in your thoughts, but in your habits, your environment, and your results. Let's move forward. Chapter 7. Integrating Change. Embracing your new financial identity. By now, you've done more than just think differently. You've questioned old beliefs. You've challenged patterns that once ran your financial life without permission. You've planted new truths. You've opened the door to abundance. But now comes the most powerful and often most misunderstood part of real transformation. Becoming the version of yourself who already lives the life you want. That version is not just wealthier, not just calmer, not just more successful. They are you, but fully expressed, clear, aligned, integrated. And the path from where you are now to that future is built through one thing: identity. Let's start here. You don't just change your money mindset by learning new ideas. You change it by embodying a new self. It's not enough to think abundant. You have to act like someone who believes in abundance. It's not enough to repeat affirmations. You have to make different choices and do it consistently, even when it feels unfamiliar. Because here's the truth no one says loud enough. Real change is not about doing something big once. It's about doing something small, over and over, until it becomes who you are. And at first, that feels strange, maybe even fake, because you're stepping out of the identity you've worn for years, maybe your whole life. You're no longer saying, "I want to become wealthy someday." You're now saying, "This is who I am now, and every action I take reflects it." This is the essence of identity shifting. What is identity shifting? Identity shifting is the process of redefining the person you believe yourself to be. It means asking, who do I want to become? What would that version of me do, think, feel, decide, and then acting accordingly? It's not about pretending. It's not about faking it. It's about training your nervous system to accept a new baseline. The baseline of a calm, confident, financially empowered person. Let's imagine something together. Picture the version of yourself who already lives your ideal financial life. They don't stress about bills. They make confident decisions. They invest wisely. They track their money, and not from fear but from clarity. They hold boundaries. They know their worth. They lead their life, not just survive it. Now ask, what do they do every day? How do they talk to themselves? What habits have they made non-negotiable? What energy do they carry into conversations? What do they no longer tolerate? These are not fantasy details. This is your blueprint. Create your identity statement. Here's a practical way to ground this new identity. Write what's called an identity statement. It's one powerful sentence or paragraph that defines who you are becoming. Here's a structure you can use. I am someone who. Insert the qualities, behaviors, and mindset of your empowered financial self. For example, I am someone who makes conscious financial choices, speaks with confidence about money, trusts in long-term growth, and attracts opportunities with ease and integrity. Or, I am someone who no longer hides from numbers, who honors their financial goals, and who shows up for their future every day, with intention. Write your own, speak it every morning. Let it become the lens through which you live your day. Because what you repeat, you become. Take tiny aligned actions. Daily, this new identity won't show up because of a breakthrough moment. It shows up in the little things. That means checking your bank account when you'd usually avoid it, saying no to something that doesn't align with your new self, saying yes to something that once felt too big, taking 5 minutes to track your spending, speaking about your financial goals out loud, setting up automatic savings, even if it's a small amount, preparing for a meeting with confidence, not anxiety. Each action is a brick. Each brick builds trust, and that trust becomes your new foundation. Use mindfulness. To reinforce identity, mindfulness is more than just breathing or sitting still. It's becoming aware of your moment-to-moment identity choices. Try this simple practice. Throughout the day, ask yourself, am I acting like my past self or my future self? This question rewires your responses in real time, and it teaches your brain, this is who I am now. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present, because awareness is the start of all alignment. Overcoming the gap between who you were and who you're becoming. This part matters. And most people ignore it. When you start living from a new identity, there's a gap between the thoughts you want to believe and the automatic reactions that still show up. That gap can feel uncomfortable. It can even feel like failure. But it's not failure. It's evidence of growth. That awkwardness you feel, that's the space where the old self loses power, and the new self begins to take root. So when you feel like you're faking it, and remind yourself you're practicing. This is what change looks like. Not polished, not instant, just honest, slow, deliberate becoming. Use emotional anchoring. You already know that repetition shapes belief. But here's what amplifies it: emotion. If you want your new identity to stick, tie it to feelings. Don't just say, "I am financially free." Pause and feel what that means. Visualize it. Let it light up your nervous system. Anchor it. Every time you practice a new habit, let gratitude, pride, or confidence rise in your chest. This creates emotional memory, and the brain learns fastest when you connect thought plus action plus emotion. Final step for integration: build rituals around your identity. To truly embody the new you, create rituals that reflect the mindset you're stepping into. Simple examples: a Sunday evening, money check-in. A monthly future self day to review your progress and set intentions. Morning journaling with your identity statement. Speaking one affirmation aloud before any financial task. Closing the day by naming one aligned action you took. These rituals don't just support your mindset. They become evidence. Evidence that you are not waiting to become that person you already are. You're just strengthening the signal one day at a time. There's a moment in every transformation when the new identity is still fresh, and life starts to test you. A bill arrives you weren't expecting. Someone questions your new boundaries. An old opportunity shows up, the kind that used to drain you but pay well. Your habits get challenged by stress or tiredness or just the pressure of old routines. And suddenly, this new version of you, the one you've worked hard to create, feels shaky. This is the moment where most people fall back, not because they're weak, not because they're lazy, but because they weren't ready for the test. They thought once they felt different, the rest would follow easily. But here's the truth: becoming your new financial identity is just the start. Living it, consistently, is where the real work begins, and that's what this part of the chapter is about. Understand that setbacks are a part of growth. Let's clear this up first. You will be tested, not to punish you, but to prove to yourself what you're made of. Your old life will whisper, "Come back. This is easier." You know how to be this version, even if it's painful. All this growth is risky, unfamiliar, exhausting, and on tough days that voice might even make sense. But here's what you must remember: every setback is an invitation to reinforce your identity, not retreat from it. So when something throws you off, don't say, "I guess I'm not ready." Say, "This is a perfect moment to practice who I've chosen to become." Build a recovery routine for when you slip. Slipping back doesn't mean you've failed. It just means you've hit a trigger: emotional, environmental, or energetic. Instead of spiraling, create a recovery plan. Here's how it works. Notice the shift. Say it out loud if you can. "I'm reacting from my old identity right now." Pause. Breathe. 3 slow, deep breaths. Ask yourself, what would my financially empowered self do in this exact moment? Take one small aligned action, even if it's just writing a new thought or moving your body or refusing to repeat the same story. This turns setbacks into training sessions. Each time you fall and recover faster, your identity gets stronger. Track identity evidence. Your brain needs proof to reinforce belief. So give it evidence. Every time you make a decision that aligns with your new financial self, write it down. It might look like, said no to a discount I didn't need, had an honest conversation about money without fear, took time to reflect before spending impulsively, saved $20 today by pausing instead of reacting, responded to pressure with clarity, not panic. This isn't about being perfect, it's about showing yourself, "I'm living it now." Create a folder, a list, a journal, whatever works. Over time, it becomes a mirror, a library of proof. And on hard days, that's what brings you back to your power. Protect your new identity from energy. Drains your new mindset is like a seedling, strong, but still sensitive to its environment. That's why you need to protect it. Here's how energy drains often show up. Conversations rooted in scarcity or gossip. People who constantly doubt you or pull you back. Social media that triggers comparison, old routines that keep you busy but not aligned. Multitasking, overcommitment, or constant distraction. You don't have to cut people out, but you do need to create space. Make time each day to come back to your center. Even 5 quiet minutes can be a reset, because when you protect your energy, You stabilize your identity, and you start making decisions that come from calm, not chaos. Create anchors that pull you forward. Anchors are simple tools that remind you who you are, especially when you forget. Here are a few ideas. Identity statements on your mirror. A lock screen mantra that brings you back to alignment. A playlist that puts you in your abundant energy. A physical object, a coin, a bracelet, a small token that reminds you, this is who I am now. These anchors are quiet, personal, and powerful, because when pressure hits, your brain reaches for something familiar. Let it find something you chose. Adjust your habits, but don't abandon the path. Growth isn't a straight line. There will be weeks where everything flows, and others when nothing seems to stick. That's okay. When life gets busy or energy gets low, don't abandon your identity. Instead, scale it down. Can't do your full morning routine? Take one mindful breath. Can't do a financial deep dive today? Do a 5-minute review. Can't afford the big investment yet? Make a small symbolic commitment to yourself. You don't need to go back. You just need to stay connected. Even a thread is enough to hold the transformation. Set new standards and respect them. Eventually, your financial identity needs to be backed by standards, not rules, not pressure, but commitments to yourself that say, this is what I do now, because it reflects who I am. That could mean no longer speaking negatively about money, refusing to explain or defend your financial decisions, budgeting not from fear, but from vision, letting go of things, people, or habits that don't support your growth, taking a pause before any large purchase to ask, does this align with who I am becoming? These standards aren't about control, they're about self-respect, and when you follow them, your confidence grows from the inside out, because now you're not hoping for change, you're living it. Schedule an identity check-in once a week. Take 10 quiet minutes to ask, how did I live from my new identity this week? Where did I slip? And how did I recover? What did I learn about my patterns? What choices reflected my future self? What will I repeat or upgrade next? Week? This isn't a performance review. It's a moment of self-honoring. You're reminding your mind, body, and soul that you are committed to this path, not just in theory, but in action. And consistency builds identity faster than any big breakthrough ever could. Final message for this chapter. You've walked through fear. You've challenged old stories. You've planted new thoughts, new habits, and a new vision. Now, you're living it. You are the person who takes aligned action, who responds with clarity, who builds wealth without sacrificing peace, who protects their energy, who no longer chases, but attracts through embodiment. This is what real power looks like: quiet, calm, certain. And as you move forward into the final chapter, know this: you are no longer trying to become, you are already becoming. Let's finish strong with the final steps to sustaining this transformation for life. Let's move into Chapter 8. Chapter 8. Maintaining momentum and seeking support. You've come a long way, and before anything else is said, just take a moment. Pause. Breathe. And really let this truth sink in. You've done something most people never do. You didn't just learn new information, you looked inward. You faced hard truths, you stepped up, and you decided to change your story. That alone is extraordinary. But now comes the next level. The work doesn't end here. In fact, this is just the beginning of a lifetime relationship with money that feels calm, confident, and clear. This chapter is about keeping your momentum, even when motivation fades, even when real life shows up, even when it gets quiet, because mastery isn't built by inspiration. It's built by structure, rhythm, reflection, and when needed, support. Let's walk through exactly how to hold your progress and keep rising. Step 1. Reflect on the journey and honor it. The first step to maintaining momentum is acknowledgement. Ask yourself, what have I learned about myself on this journey? What beliefs did I let go of? What new truths have I adopted? What habits have already shifted? What moment or lesson hit me the hardest? And why? Take time to reflect. You've likely made progress that doesn't show up on a bank statement, but it shows up in your thoughts, in your language, in your energy. That kind of growth matters, because your outer world will eventually catch up to your inner changes, but only if you honor the work that got you here. Step 2. Choose what you'll carry. Forward. After reflection, it's time to choose. Not everything you've learned will be practiced daily, and that's okay. But now ask yourself, which habits, thoughts, or practices do I want to carry into the next season of my life? This could be a morning affirmation, a weekly money check-in, writing down wins at the end of each day, setting a new financial intention every month, keeping your identity statement on your desk, pausing before every financial decision to ask, does this align with who I am becoming? Choose 2 or 3 that resonate deeply, not because you should, but because they feel like you now. Make them part of your rhythm, because repetition isn't boring, it's powerful. It's what makes your transformation permanent. Step 3. Expand the timeline and the vision you've already completed an inner reset. Now it's time to stretch the timeline forward. Instead of thinking in weeks, think in seasons. Ask, what does my financial mindset look like 60 days from now? Who am I becoming in the next 90 days? What identity do I want to reinforce by the end of this year? Growth isn't about rushing. It's about staying in motion, gently but consistently. Set one clear goal for the next 60 to 90 days. Just one. Maybe it's track my money without anxiety, speak more openly about finances, double my savings rate, even by a few dollars, invest time into learning, not just earning, feel peace when I look at my numbers. Let that goal be your North Star, something you walk toward every day, even in small steps. Because the moment you stop expanding the vision, you risk shrinking back into the past. Step 4. Know that it's never too late to start again. Maybe you'll hit a rough patch. Maybe old habits creep in. Maybe life throws you a curveball. Here's the truth. You can restart at any moment. There is no behind. There is no deadline on transformation. Money mindset is a living practice and not a one-time fix. So if you fall off track, forgive yourself, take a breath, and pick one small, loving action that brings you back into alignment. That's all it takes. Not punishment, not perfection, just presence. Step 5. Don't be afraid to ask for help. This part is crucial. There's nothing weak about needing support. In fact, asking for help is one of the strongest financial decisions you can make. You don't have to walk this journey alone. So if you're stuck, if you're confused, if you're facing a decision bigger than your current capacity, reach out. That might look like talking to a trusted friend about your financial goals, having an honest conversation with your partner, joining a financial support group or mentorship space, working with a money coach, advisor, or therapist. Sometimes all it takes is a new perspective, someone who can see what you can't from the inside, not to control your path, but to reflect your power back to you. Step 6. Build a personal support plan. Even before a problem shows up, prepare your support system. Think of it like emotional wealth insurance. Your plan might include one person you can call when fear shows up, a list of grounding questions to check your mindset, a reminder on your phone to do your weekly reflection, and accountability buddy you text every Friday with a money win, a quiet journal space where you can be completely honest without judgment. This structure creates safety, and safety keeps the growth flowing, because mindset thrives in environments of support, not isolation. You're allowed to be supported. You're meant to be supported. Step 7. Keep learning, but learn with intention. The financial world is massive. There will always be a new book, a new method, a new podcast, a new strategy. But don't chase information just to stay busy. Ask, what do I need to learn now to support the next step of my transformation? Maybe it's budgeting. Maybe it's investing. Maybe it's healing deeper emotional blocks around wealth. Maybe it's learning how to talk about money in your relationships. Maybe it's refining how you track and plan. Choose your next resource intentionally. Here are a few categories worth exploring. books on emotional money healing, or practical financial literacy, podcasts hosted by coaches who blend mindset and strategy apps that make managing your money feel less stressful, websites that offer tools for setting and tracking financial goals. But above all, let application lead your learning. Don't just consume knowledge, practice it, live it, and let it integrate into your everyday behavior. So here you are, at the final chapter, at the quiet edge of something powerful, not an ending, but a new kind of beginning. You've done the work, you've shown up, you've reflected, rewired, released, and rebuilt. And now it's time to live it. Not just once, not just when it's easy, but daily, gently, bravely, and with intention. Because this transformation, this new money mindset, this identity you've chosen, it isn't a temporary change, it's a new way of being. Let's pause for a moment and remember how far you've come. You started with questions. Why do I struggle with money? Why do I repeat the same financial patterns? Why do I feel shame, fear, or pressure around money, no matter how much I have? And now, you have answers, not because someone gave them to you, but because you were willing to look within, to slow down, to feel, to challenge the voice that said, "This is just who I am." You've proven that change is possible, because you've experienced it, thought, by belief, and by action. But let's be honest. The real test of your mindset won't come when things are easy. It will come in the quiet moments, the uncertain moments, the days when the numbers feel tight, or the people around you doubt you, or your own mind whispers, "Have you really changed?" That's when you get to say, not from ego, but from grounded truth, "Yes, I have. And I'm still becoming." Because abundance isn't just something you attract, it's something you embody. And the more you live it, the more it becomes your new normal. Keep the flame alive, even when it's quiet. There will be days when you forget, when old fears knock again, when unexpected bills stir anxiety, when someone around you says something that pokes your doubt. That's okay, because forgetting doesn't erase your growth. The key is not perfection, it's returning to your tools, returning to your values, returning to your truth. You already know how, so the next time you slip into fear, pause, take a breath, and say, "I am safe to come back to myself." Because your power isn't in never falling. It's in how quickly and kindly you rise. You were never broken. Let's say this clearly. There was never anything wrong with you. Your past, financial struggles, they were patterns and not proof of failure. Your money anxiety, it was protection, not weakness. Your scarcity thinking, it was inherited, not your destiny. And your transformation, it's not a correction. It's a coming home to the version of you that was always waiting underneath the noise. You didn't become someone new. You returned to someone true. Wealth is now something you create, not chase. Let's talk about wealth. Because after everything you've learned, it's time to redefine it. Wealth is not just a number, not just a status, not just security in the future. Wealth is how you think when no one's watching, how you feel when you open your bank app, how you move through conversations with calm, clarity, and confidence. Wealth is presence. Wealth is choice. Wealth is knowing that whatever comes your way, you have the tools to respond with wisdom, and that cannot be taken away. Your mindset is now your greatest asset. There's something no one can steal from you, ever again, the mindset you've built. It's yours now, rooted, real, reliable. It will guide your decisions. It will protect your peace. It will expand your opportunities. It will magnetize the right people, places, and paths. And when things shake around you, your mindset will say, "We've been here before. We know what to do. Let's move forward with grace." Because when your mind is steady, your money follows. Let the journey continue, not for perfection, but for depth. As you close this book, you don't walk away finished. You walk away equipped. And the real journey, it continues every time you choose clarity over fear, make a decision aligned With your future self, pause to check your inner voice. Forgive yourself after a setback. Invest in your own learning. Ask for help when needed. Celebrate even the smallest win. You're not here to master money once and for all. You're here to stay in relationship with your money, your emotions, your power, for life. And that's the real definition of wealth. Connection, continuity, choice. One final reflection. Right now, take a breath and say, I trust myself with money. I'm no longer who I used to be. I carry peace with my finances. I'm allowed to be wealthy and well. I am creating a legacy, not just an income. This version of me is just the beginning. Say it again if you need to. Whisper it, own it, feel it in your chest. Because it's true, and because your story matters. You are part of a quiet revolution, the kind of change that starts inside and ripples outward into every part of your life. And so, we close not with noise, not with pressure, but with peace. You are not just someone who read a book. You are someone who became the message, who chose courage, who dared to ask more of life, and who now walks forward, not as a student of change, but as a leader of it. So go, live, build, teach, model what's possible. And whenever you need to come back to this mindset, remember, it's already yours, you built it, and it lives in you, always. This is your money mind control. And this one is just the beginning.